Hi, everyone. You for joining us. Okay, we are at, I think, our final meeting of the Old Town Hall Committee. Let's take a roll call. We'll start down at my other end there.
Fred Miller.
Bob Jarvis.
And Jenny Dewar, and we have
Jeannie Alexander.
on Zoom. And do we have anyone else? Nikki Forrest. Hi, Nikki. Whoever you are. Do I know you? I don't know. Hi, Nikki. So thanks for joining us. And yeah, so we're gonna go launch right into the proposal that was, it says discussion of Bob Jarvis's proposal. It's actually all of our proposal that was assigned to Bob to draw up on our behalf. So so it's let's just amend that to say it's the proposal of the entire committee.
So quick, and probably not a discussion. I think our goal here is finalize the committee's recommendation to the select board.
I do want to say though, I amend that just a little bit because I think, well, I wasn't at the last meeting. That's totally on me. I'm learning that unless I am dying, I will make it to the meeting. So I apologize. I was just afraid of being contagious and making people sick. But I will say, looking at the proposal, we don't have to have complete consensus as a committee. I don't think that's required. But I do think to say that we're all in agreement on this, and this is a recommendation coming from all of us, I will say that that is not correct because there are some things on this that had I been at that meeting, and again, it's on me that I wasn't, that I would not want to put my name on as saying this is what I'm recommending that the town do. I just want to be clear about that.
I think that's fine. Yeah, I think that's just how a committee works. It never is necessarily everybody signing off on it. There's always
right, but
the consensus and compromise.
But I do hope we are still having some discussion around this tonight. At least I thought that.
So here's my feeling about it. That we're an advisory committee, and this proposal is kind of just words we're giving to the select board, and it's not going to make any difference necessarily because it's up to the select board and the town, not us. And with this new board makeup, who knows how, I don't know where everyone stands on any of it. The church was never part of our charge. However, the land that the church sits on is the same land that the old town office sits on, and with the realtor coming in and talking about what it takes to divide up that land, I still think that the town could certainly decide to do that and take the second recommendation over the first recommendation, or take none of it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess I do want to say I'm a little bit confused because you're right. I mean, this was not the sort of mandate or hope for this committee would be to discuss the church at all. That's definitely beyond our purview. Bob, I did hear you say that. I did watch, and I was like, I heard you say, yeah, Jeannie would probably tell us. I think that's right. And I guess I'm still, even though watching the prayer meeting, I'm just not quite sure how we got to the point of, and I wasn't sure, it didn't seem to me this is where we were headed in the meeting, but how we got to a primary recommendation being to quit claim the old town hall to the church when that is actually not, that really isn't part of the dispute as to whether or not the church is not making a claim that it owns the old town hall. And considering the potential lost revenue, I guess I'm very confused about how this committee came to the primary recommendation being just give the old town hall to the church. I would, that's something I would never support.
I'll let one of you guys speak to it.
Well, I can speak to it a little bit. Well, at least from the perspective of we listened to the only reason that the only reason it's here and we're even talking about the church and that as a quit claim is because it eliminates the need to divide the parcel. There's also risks associated with selling, because you could put it for sale. It could sit there for a couple of years and not sell. And the longer it's there, the longer it's a cost to the town. So I think that was it. I don't think no one was bringing the church into it other than the parcel, other than the costs of a survey and the costs of dividing it out. And I think that's where it was. And I came in here expecting that we were going to talk about it and that we would vote, and that this isn't necessarily primary, secondary, tertiary.
Yeah.
It could be
Right.
we could vote differently. But this is where we landed last time. And I think and you just need to, I think we just need to list out the pros, the cons. There could be some pros and could be some cons missing.
Yes.
We could even take out primary recommendation. We could just say, these are the possibilities, and take them out as any kind of hierarchically, that's not the right word, but any kind of giving any weight from one to the other. The other thing is the person who made the church part of the Old Town Office discussion was actually Carl at a select board meeting, when he was the one who said that the town hall was tied up to the church. So
Yeah.
that was the first time I heard it. So that's where it came from. So Carl Strohmeyer is the one who put that out there. And we couldn't ignore it once he said those words. And so then that conflated the two. And then we can't discuss the Old Town Office without discussing the church because of them being on the same parcel.
Yeah, I guess I just don't think that's, I mean, regardless of what Carl said, and I don't recall that, I don't disagree with it, but I think that we can talk about that. And I guess I'm curious too, before making this recommendation, did someone talk with the church or representatives of the church? Because that's also the idea of just quit claiming it to somebody, that isn't necessarily a benefit, right?
Well, I agree. No, but here's the thing. I don't think we need to argue whether to quit claim it to the church or not, because it's not going to be our decision to make anyway. So it's just a possibility of what could be done. So I wonder if we just don't say primary, secondary, and I say the tertiary. I agree with the tertiary recommendation. I like that word. Thank you. New word for me. And I like the absolutely no to leasing. I think that's clear. In my mind, that's clear that leasing should be completely off the table, in my opinion, because of what we discussed last meeting, that we don't have a buildings and grounds committee. We don't have anyone who could actually take care of the leasing, take care of the Old Town Office. Current staff has already said that they're overburdened by the things that they're supposed to do. I had one specifically say to me that it was difficult to get to do a select board packet, which I think is actually number one of administrative assistant duties. So I don't see how that there's anyone that staff could possibly take care of the Old Town Office in terms of a leasing situation. I think it's all of our last, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's all of our last choice to have it demolished.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Well, aside from leasing, but demolish.
Right. Leasing, I think, is not a recommendation, period. That's like a no. And then demolishing is the very last choice. And then leasing's not a choice in my opinion.
And I think it's worth pointing out that we may not all agree with the sequence of these.
Yeah.
But it was not the last meeting that first came up with the quitclaim. We had discussed that before. It just didn't come through as our primary in our previous discussion. So it was always on the table, or at least we had always discussed it. It wasn't until the last meeting that we laid them out in this sequence.
You know what, my reason for getting on this committee was because there was so very little information available through the town.
Yeah.
On what's going on, but there is public information available through the Bennington Superior Court, and it tells what is going on pretty much. And I was interested, and I have had some conversations with the church people, and they are interested in, owning I guess addressing, I don't want to talk too much legal stuff, but there is a statute in play as well. And the town is, in my opinion, maybe I shouldn't give my opinion on where the town is right now with that.
I think you should. I think
I
that's.
think it's foolish. I think it's foolish. It's a waste of taxpayers' money to be fighting something that the statute ran out. It's obvious what the statute says, and to be fighting it is foolish. And that drove me to be interested in this committee. And when it was suggested that you were going to form the committee, I was definitely on board to do that.
And if the church was not, if the church and town office were not on the same plot of land, then this wouldn't be part of the discussion at all. But they are, and so therefore, you can't discuss what to do with the old town office without discussing what happens with the church and with the land.
Right, which is why I think Bob brought this up during the last meeting, and I totally hear this too, that it might also be premature to discuss this at all. I mean, until we figure out what's going on hopefully through mediation. With this, yes, with where we are in litigation currently and the decision about who owns what. So no, I do hear what you're saying there. And Fred, for one, I'm glad that you're on this committee.
I get warm when I start talking about it. You mentioned mediation. I think that should have been the number one first step before any of this took place.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I agree with that. I believe all this started before Jeannie was even on the board.
Yeah, and I agree with the mediation.
I would say that the town as a whole are unclear how it even got to this point or how it had been started at any point. So, when did it become an issue? When did it become a legality? When did it become a fight with only people talking in executive session and none of us knowing what those conversations were? And I'm the one who stood up at town meeting saying this is the most transparent board that we've had. And there are a lot of fewer executive sessions, and I appreciate the board for that. And I think, Jeannie, you have brought incredible grace to the select board, and I'm so glad that you are continuing on it. And a large part of why it's working well is because of you. But there's history. There's people on there who were part of how this all got started, and it's problematic. And it's problematic that the town doesn't know, and that this committee is here discussing this without understanding why it's come to this point. So, I don't want to feel like this has been a waste of our time. But in a way, I feel like it will be, because we'll present this to the board, and just like the town administrator being voted in many years ago, the town still doesn't have one. So will the select board do anything with this? I have no idea. But we're going to try. We're going to make our recommendations. I feel a little dark about it today. Can you tell? I was going to try and come in and act all cheery, but I'm not. So, so we need to decide what our recommendation is going to be. Yes, you are welcome to. You are welcome to get, yes, absolutely.
Alexandra. Two things. One is
Give your full name.
Alexandra Wild. I live on Center Street. I wanted two things. One was, is there any way this proposal is visible to anybody else, or is that a?
No, because.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It will be, but
Right.
not until we voted and agreed.
Yeah, it just never.
Right, so before this goes to the select board, I think that would be it.
Okay, and then I was gonna say, the next thing is, don't feel like this was for naught. The nice thing now is at least there's a whole folder, Old Town Hall,
100%.
and I think that's gonna be really valuable, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
All of you
I appreciate that.
to your time. And then, sorry, there was a third item, is there any way, I just wanna say that I feel like mediation should absolutely be the first step.
I couldn't agree more. I don't understand why we're at the point now where that didn't happen, and I hope that they move forward. I mean, I think that is where it's supposed to go. I believe Jeannie is supposed to be the voice of the select board for mediation, but none of us know that. That's really what we don't. That's the big elephant in the room that we don't know.
My caution would be going to remediation, we're talking about the church, not the town hall.
Right.
Yes.
So if the town hall is going to come into it, you would only come into it because of remediation, that would have to be a decision that's outside of this.
That's right. And this will be made public once we edit it together, but we couldn't. So because of open meeting law, Bob sent this to me and then we distributed it to the rest of the committee today. So everyone is seeing it for the first time today, and we haven't edited it as a group, and we can't edit it on email with each other because that would be a violation of open meeting law. So this is the place where we are discussing this. And then once we have edited it and once it's completed and that what we're going to present, I would say probably it wouldn't be made public until after we present it to the select board. Would you agree with that? And then it would become public. So am I wrong in that? Does everyone agree
I'm
with
not
that?
sure. I think if we're making an official recommendation, that probably is public.
So it's okay.
Because it becomes a public record.
Okay, so
It should be public when we present it to the board, I believe.
well, certainly when we present it to the board, it's public, but do we put it out there before the presentation to the board? And the board meeting is this Thursday, so that's the other thing we need to get on the agenda for the select board. Jeannie, can you make sure we're on the agenda to make this presentation?
I can certainly put in the request, and I also think that should come from you as well as the chair of this committee.
Okay, fine, I can do that.
Yeah.
All right, so then I'll take care of it. I will write that in. It has to be 48 hours ahead, so it just, as long as it's put on the agenda tomorrow.
Mhm.
And actually, I mean, it can always be amended onto the agenda as well,
Yeah, you should be.
because there's no vote happening. So,
Right.
but we'll try to get on the agenda for Thursday. Gentlemen, if you're able to come, I would love that. But if not, that's okay. I'll be here.
I can probably Zoom in. That's.
Zoom in is fine.
They come in and see.
Great. Okay, so should we move ahead with, so
Should we read it?
I think the first thing to discuss, I think it's really well written. I wouldn't want to just scratch the whole thing. I guess the first question and the decision to make, and then go through it line by line or however we do it. But let's decide about the order of the recommendation. Are we going to say a primary and a secondary recommendation?
Well, if we go through and read it,
Sure.
we can skip the primary,
Okay.
secondary, and tertiary. You just talk about each recommendation.
Okay, great. Do you want to read? Do you want me to read? What's your preference?
I suppose I can read.
Okay, if you don't mind. Okay. No, I actually
Okay,
think, I think it's really, really well written. It's really like listing the pros and cons has been, I think it was super helpful. So why don't you read through it?
All right, so I'll just start at the top here. As directed by the select board, the Old Town Hall Committee met over the course of several weeks to discuss and research options for the Old Town Hall. Members of the committee conducted research and consulted professionals to determine the viability of multiple options. Members also reviewed former documents and communications. I'm sorry, not former, that should have been official documents and communications regarding the Old Town Hall to incorporate an historic understanding of its purpose and its use in discussions. Based on our discussions and research, the following are our recommendations for the Old Town Hall. Well, I'll jump into the first. These are not necessarily in order. We haven't decided that yet. So just making sure everybody is clear on that. Quit claim to the church. The committee reached the committee, yeah.
So,
I'm trying to paraphrase here a little bit.
Members present.
The members present reached a consensus, but not necessarily the consensus of the committee, is to quit claim any interest in the Old Town Hall to the and its associated land at the church. Pros. Legal resolution. This action is seen as a way to potentially end the ongoing Glebland litigation and withdraw the current lawsuit. That's a possibility. It could be used as a leverage is basically what we're saying there. Cost efficiency avoids the high cost of surveys, title investigations, and the legal process of subdividing the land. Immediate ownership clarity provides a definitive answer to the longstanding question of ownership of the parcel of land in the upper portion of the church building, which has been legally ambiguous for over 260 years. Ongoing maintenance immediately stops the town's responsibility for heating, other utilities, foundation repairs, mold remediation, and ongoing maintenance. Community use. The church has a proven track record of using the surrounding property for community-oriented events, such as auctions and the skateboard park. Hence, the committee believes that the use would be in line with the goals of town green. Follows original intent of new town hall as presented to the voters. Now, this one is actually a benefit of both this quick lane and of sale. Part of the rationale for the specific new town hall proposal is we were able to pass always mention not being responsible for the old town hall anymore, whether by selling or otherwise, which was meant to offset the cost of the new buildings. And then the cons was the potential lost revenue of a sale. We did get a cost estimate from the real estate agent that was in here. I don't know. It seems that was a little bit high in my opinion, but I don't know.
Oh, I don't think so, but yeah, because the realtor said between 100 and 150K for the sale of the old town office was.
Oh, I thought you said 150 to 170.
He made
He said 150 to 175.
150 to 175, because originally he said to me in the 200. And then when he did a little more research, he brought it down to that, so.
Okay, and we'll talk about that when we get into.
And we should include that the minutes it reflects that in the minutes, so we can include that with this when we present it. The realtor's findings, yeah. I'm sorry.
And then another option discussed and is on here as an option is the sale. And if we did a sale, we had also discussed in the last meeting is to give the church the first right of refusal. If the select board decides to proceed with a sale rather than a quick claim, the committee suggests a structured approach involving the church. The pros. It's revenue generation. The sale proceeds could be earmarked to pay down the bond on the current town building, potentially providing some property tax relief. And business opportunity. A sale could bring in a desirable business such as an accounting firm, a veterinary clinic, lawyer's office, and my favorite, coffee shop.
Oh, speaking of, the people who are purchasing Winchesters are Tunnel City. Did you know that? The people who own Tunnel City in Williamstown are the people who are purchasing the Winchester.
Oh, I did not know that.
So you're gonna get your coffee.
Oh,
Yeah.
All the way down to the beach.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was those were the pros, and then the cons is the upkeep burden. The town must continue to pay for the maintenance and utilities while the property is on the market. The realtor noted the longer the town holds the property, the more its value effectively drops due to the carrying costs. And I point out that we've been carrying it for a while now. Subdivision costs. Selling the building independently of the church property could require formal surveying and the creation of new deeds and titles. In our discussions with a specialized title investigator was referenced to perform initial deep research at a discounted rate of $80 an hour before hiring a full surveyor at approximately $200 an hour. And those are rates that we got from the real estate expert that was here in the last meeting. There is market risk. There is a limited pool of buyers for a property with known foundation mold issues that require significant investment for residential or commercial conversion. So it could sit on the market for quite a while. Commercial fit could potentially bring in an undesirable organization to the town green area. And building condition, any sale would require full disclosure of the questionable mold situation, known foundation issues, and any other things that we might know about. And then the final option that we had discussed was demolition. If the sale or transfer proves impossible due to legal entanglements or the cost of repairs, the committee considered demolition as a final alternative to stop ongoing maintenance costs. The pros, stops the money pit, eliminates recurring costs for heating, insurance, and maintenance on a building that is currently underutilized. Safety removes the liability of a building with mold and structural foundation issues. And then land use options allows for creative land use options and possible grants for things like playgrounds, splash pad, additional parking, picnic tables, et cetera. Once it's land, you can do anything with it. And then the cons would be a loss of history. The front part of that building, I believe, is from 1923. So we would lose a piece of Pownell's architecture. I do want to point that out too. A lot of people think that because it's 1923, it's not really all that old. And so it's barely over 100
years.
And that is true, but then we also have a lot of people who have done all of their business in that town, feel or in that building and feel attached to it. So we can't dismiss that. And the high upfront cost, demolition itself requires some investment. And then finally, it is the note: the committee explicitly rejected the option of leasing the building, becoming a landlord, citing the town's lack of capacity and staff to handle property management and maintenance. We did look at some other municipalities, and for those that did do leases, the vast majority have dedicated building and maintenance teams or departments, which we don't have. And we're a small town. I wouldn't expect us to.
No, we can't. Yeah. I did add, so that with the cons, the subdivision costs, I made note that that's from the Realtor. I changed, as you said, reviewed versus former official versus former. I took notes on this to give to you. So a quick come to the church. I crossed out, tell me if you agree with this, the committee reached a consensus that the most and just changed it to an effective path. Changed history to track record as you edited as reading, follows the original intent of Newtown Hall, that's both quick claim and sale. I did also just jot down Historical Society, that could be another organization that could make a museum, a historical museum out of the town office. And the other thing is I had brought up, sorry, they build houses for people. They're called Habitat for Humanity. Thank you. I spoke with a resident of town the other day on voting day, and he does work with Habitat for Humanity, and he said that they would take it up right away. I don't remember who said that they wouldn't even touch it, but he said that they would. He's actually spoken with them, and they would definitely take it. So
They would take it.
that they would definitely make use of it. So I don't know if we want to work that into this somehow. Or perhaps in the first right of refusal piece, we could say, 3 potential.
Again, I could, before you, sorry, write that. Couple of recommendations. And I understand this language will go away, but under primary recommendations, when it says the committee reached a consensus, I think if you're trying to figure out how to reword that, I think you could say the majority of committee members reached a conclusion. That way, I think that's more accurate. And then if we could just discuss right of first refusal again, I think that one of the biggest pros in selling it, obviously, is paying down the bond. Right. I think that's why it was discussed to begin with. And that was part of how it was presented, was that it would be sold. And what was so appealing about that is that immediately that would just help us pay down the bond. And if that is still the case, and I would think it is, right, if the decision is made to sell it, I would hope that it would go to the person who can make the highest offer, or the person who was willing. So if we did have a right of first refusal, I think it would have to be for an asking cost. You know what I'm saying? Just to be.
That would also trigger having to do surveys.
Absolutely.
To subdivide it off the mate. I think the whole property itself.
Yeah.
That has the town hall and the church is a little over an acre. It's not it's not officially combined as far as I could ever find anything with this Bartel property.
Yeah.
This Bartel property is 1.9 acres. And the map is confusing it throws the two together. I don't know why it was done that way.
I don't see how it could possibly be one parcel because the Bartel Lodge was not owned by the town.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't believe that the town did any kind of restructuring of the plot of land when they took over this.
There was nothing official.
No, so I think it's clearly two separate parcels.
So, it's all together a little over an acre of land. Cutting cutting off what you need for the old town hall. What happens with the rest? Does the town still want to be a landlord for a church? It's like, I don't know, the constitutionality of that is a question for me.
Mhm.
So what do we do? We got a people that really, all they really want to do is be able to do their worship and have their home and be left alone. But it's like, if you're gonna have a town that's not acting like a good neighbor to begin with, as your landlord, say, we still have a problem.
I think stated differently, the only way you can achieve separation of church and state is if the state doesn't own the church. So for ownership there, I think that's pretty clear on who should own it.
So.
We're already here now. We're
So
talking about.
this is where it gets tricky because if the church takes ownership of the church, then they also take ownership of the land the church is on, and they would have to deal with the subdivision. So unless the town wrangles the church away from the church, the congregation, the town can't subdivide the land. So it's a big circular.
Well,
That could be a win-win for the town right there. I mean, if the church,
And I think that's where we got to the quit claim. If we just,
a mediation could accomplish that.
so I mean, our job is to just present the research of what would need to be done for each of the situations. And we did that. And yeah.
I think we've probably got 4 or 5 more meetings. So
Well, yeah, to talk in more circles. I mean, I think that we just present, this is what we've learned, this is what we've discovered, and now guys do something, guys and ladies do something about it. And one way or the other, let's move forward. But all in all, the bottom line of all of it is to let go of the Old Town office, one way or another. So our main recommendation is let it go. Sell it, give it away, burn it down, but don't keep it. That's our basic recommendation, right?
I would go along with that for sure.
that's correct.
So how we word that, I don't know.
I think that if the way this was presented at the beginning, and it sounds like that it was, that people agree to, was that it would be sold, then I think that that would be the primary recommendation to the select board, would be to follow through with what the original, the way that, how would we say this? The original proposal to build the new town hall, and it's not really new anymore, but the original proposal to build the town hall what included selling the old town hall. And therefore, that's where you've landed on this. And I think that's just a very straightforward way of making that recommendation.
I mean, it was implied. Certainly, it was implied. that we
Okay.
would sell it. But when that was implied, I don't think the whole church thing hadn't started yet, and I don't know that anyone knew that the land was shared. So that's where it gets muddy. If it wasn't muddy, it would be a very clear recommendation that we would say,
Like the concept of
put
saving
it on the market right now.
Well, I mean, a lot of this is muddy, right? Because one of the reasons, not the whole reason, a lot of it had to do with like a need for space. And I get that totally. And the need for a new town hall. But also it seems like the issue around the mold is muddy as well, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're being told something different now than what we were being
there
told.
are defects, there's gonna be costs for subdivision, and it's really, I lost my train of thought, but it's,
Well, it just some of the ambiguity are things that changed over time, right? If you're in that building and you're going through records and you're pulling out old books and going through them, you're going to get a lot more mold in the air than if it's just sitting there completely not used. So if you start using it again, and for the same reasons, going through records, going through old books, then you get a lot more of that too. So it's not necessarily that things were true all along that we didn't know. It's things that have changed over time. I'd also say that when we were saying we were going to sell it, it was when we built this new building. We've been in this building for several years now, which means we've had several years of costs of the old building that we wouldn't have had. So that's going to change your calculation on what you're going to what is the most cost effective option. Do you get out from under it as quickly as possible, or do you continue?
To try to make some sense of my previous rant, where I was going with that is what do I look forward to for savings on my on my property taxes? Maybe $10, $20 for 1 year, couple of years, and that's it. I mean, it's like, to me, there's so many defects that we're going to have to disclose it for sure. And it's going to come off from whatever potential price you're going to get for that property. So I don't think there's a whole big advantage for the town when you talk about revenue. We're not talking about a lot of revenue and a lot of significant impact on the taxpayers.
I guess what I think I'm hearing from you then, and I don't want to mischaracterize, so correct me if that's wrong. I feel like I'm listening to what the three of you are saying and following this train of thinking. It sounds like what you really want to recommend to the select board is they just quit claim it to the church. And I think if that's what you're talking about, then this gets back into, I'm thinking about, for example, was that Tom Martin that came in, the realtor? Right. And the discussion the possibility he raised dealing with mold and how he had a company. And, it's like, I know a guy. And he felt like that the mold could be dealt with very easily. So if we're talking about not selling it now, if that's what you're saying is there really a lot of problems with that, then it seems like another thing that should be on the table then is, okay, so do we use that area, for example, to maintain old records from the basement of the church, right? If those at some point have to come out of the basement, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I don't know. It's just sounding what I'm hearing. And again, I may not be hearing this correctly. I want to be really clear about that. As really a drive to just sort of recommend quit claiming it.
So I'm going to say that was actually not my first choice, and it's not my recommendation. So I do think a committee of 4 to say that, there's consensus. If we had a committee of 25 people, like apparently they thought that we would be overrun with people who want to have this conversation, and we're not.
Right.
So, I mean, my first choice is to sell it.
Yeah.
Then I found out the difficulties in selling it. So what else could we do? And I had made a very concerted decision not to be involved with the church for my own reasons. But I am in the same space with the gentleman here that I believe that the town should not be fighting over this church and they should just give the church to the congregation. That I'm clear about. I'm not going to fight for that because I don't care enough, to be perfectly honest. But I may care more because my reasons for not caring are because I think the pastor of that church was really, really a bad guy. So I was like, I'm not going to be involved with this because I have no respect for that guy, but I believe he's gone now. Right. So I don't understand, but I can't speak to it because I don't understand the whole history of how this all came to be. I don't. So I'm not sitting here saying that I think our first choice is to quit claim it to the church. I understand their argument for doing that. Fred's argument for doing that. I think Bob's more.
My primary recommendation would be to quit.
So, do I think they're wrong? No. Do I think they're right? I don't know. But we can't go in and say a consensus of a committee that's only 4 of us.
Yeah,
So,
I think Probably true. I think that's probably, and I mean, and I can, and I've heard the arguments, and I can, and I have, I totally understand why Fred, right, and you, Bob, may be coming down to that position. I do think this whole issue about what I might think about quit claiming the old town hall and what I might think about how we should proceed with regards to the church could be two different things, right? I think you could have two very different ideas about that. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, I think it's also okay as a committee to come back and say, here were suggestions that we had, and on some things we reached consensus, on some things we didn't, but still
Exactly.
offer everything that you came up with.
That's where I'm going with it. And I think, and the consensus I do believe that we have reached, which I said before, is that the town lets go of the old town office one way or another, and that we do not hold on to it for any reason, to lease it out, to hold records, to hold gatherings on election day, any of it. I think the town should relinquish the old town office one way or another. And I believe that is consensus. How it's relinquished is,
Get on with town business, I think, and fighting over an acre of land and a couple of old buildings is not really town business. The four of us ended up here because we have some passion on the old town hall and what to do with it. And I think we're all getting along. We're having good conversations. But, but it was open for all kinds of people to join this
That's
committee, and nobody else had the passion to do it. So it's like, let's put our two proposals with equal weight on the table.
yeah,
And
I think that's right. I think
agree that we're not gonna rent it out, we're not gonna keep it. We're gonna either sell it or quit claim it.
Can I make
these
a
are the two
suggestion?
options that we present.
Yeah, if I can make a suggestion, I would say, how about our primary recommendation is to divest the town of the old town hall through either sale or quitclaim, and then go through the pros and cons and let the select board decide which one of those is their primary. And then the would then become the secondary would be the demolition.
I think that makes sense.
Is that something everybody can agree on?
Yeah, well, I agree with that. Like, these are your options.
So our
Basically, we're saying these are your options. This is the research we've done, and these are your options as a result of the research we've done.
but also itemizing them to say
Yes.
that our primary is to get rid of the old town hall
Right.
through one of these two mechanisms.
Exactly.
And then list the pros and cons
Exactly.
of those through two mechanisms, then it'd be quit claim or sale. And then go our secondary is the demolition.
Yeah,
I think you can accurately say that the majority of the committee reached that agreement.
yeah.
That's why
Okay. All right. That's fair. And then,
consensus, because we don't have consensus, but I do think you can say honestly and accurately the majority of the committee.
fair enough. And I'll jump into, because I referenced it, and I don't want to belittle the effort made on Tuesday, because I did spend most of the day there. I left at about 2:00 because of a blizzard. And my guess is that after the blizzard, that the flow of traffic in there was even less. And I believe I counted 27 people coming through. And there was a nice spread. It was done by Tara and Ellen. The seniors were not involved. They chose not to be a part of it. I think originally the idea was that give the seniors a space to do their potluck, their offerings of food to voters. So food was made by Tara and Ellen. It was like I say, a nice spread. Very few people came. It was the same people who I see all the time. I knew every single person who walked through the door, or I knew who they were. So there were no surprises there. I would have loved to see like this be a community building thing,
Yeah, but you know
but it's the same
everybody.
thing. I don't. They think they know me, but I don't. Just to finish that, that kind of gathering could happen in the basement here. And I also think that there was a very poor turnout for the town meeting the night before, and I would love to see a potluck there and that be the place for the community to gather prior to an election. If you have a potluck, it brings people in. If you have some vendors, people come to buy things. Candidates can speak to constituents. So it was a nice effort. It went pretty much exactly how I expected it to go. So that's all. It was on the agenda, and we did talk about me being there, so I just thought I should speak to it. And like I say, I don't want anyone to be insulted that I'm saying it was a sweet effort, but you know.
And I do just want to say, because there were two of us there, and then Bob and Fred, I don't know if you guys stopped in or not. I do think, I think if people had stopped in, it was really nice. I think it was nice, particularly like the time of year. It was cold out there. So I know when I popped in, it's because I was really cold from standing outside and I wanted to go in.
Yeah.
People who went in really appreciated it. I also think reason, two things that more people didn't go in is, one, when I mentioned it to people, like who are either going into or coming out from voting, almost no one knew that was happening. Right. So they had to be directed there. They didn't understand that was even an option to go in.
Yep.
Yeah. So I do think that had people been more aware of that, there might have been a bigger turnout. But also, I mean, you touched on this. We have an issue in our town with low voter turnout. That's a whole well beyond the scope of this conversation.
100% low voter
I
turnout.
think it's generally that people want to be left alone. You know, and I'm not being facetious with that. I just want they don't.
But low voter turnout and low participation. It's the same faces all the time participating.
I think that's why, or at least I had heard it, maybe it's not even true. It was referred to as the 700 Club, because that's about as many votes as anybody ever gets.
And that's the national elections. So I think we had, and so like the March elections, I think drew maybe 450 voters.
No, you had two candidates that were over 300, so it had to be over 600. In fact, maybe even over 700.
No. The 3 1 years, the 3 1 years.
No, 2 3 years.
The 2 3 years, there weren't 700 votes. There were.
Oh, maybe I counted. Maybe I'm thinking it was 350 and it was 150 or something like that.
Well, even though this isn't part of our
I just have a comment.
thing, I will. Yes,
Also
go right ahead.
related to this, but not related to your form. I want to just push back on the people want to be left alone. I think especially our young folk need to learn that there's a civic duty to participate in our democracy.
They still even they want to be left.
Sure.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not. You know.
I think it's important to participate in.
It's
a part.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Oh, I was remembering it wrong.
Yeah.
So it was almost 500. It was the high.
Under 500. Yeah. High 400s. Which is.
I was remembering threes as the actual.
No, I was like 800 people coming to vote. But yeah, so you know, so that's all to say that having it's just another argument against using it in that capacity. We just don't need the extra space for that. As nice as it was. I mean, you could have had the same thing at the Legion or at the library, and I think the same people would have voted and then driven over there to have some food.
The only value I could see is like what Jeannie mentioned, because I've been out in the cold a couple of times.
Yeah.
And it's cold and your feet get wet and it's cold and the wind's blowing and it's like nice to have a shelter to step into.
And certainly. And there's all kinds of possibilities with that. With the new firehouse, maybe that could be a gathering space as well. And that's not so much further than the Old Town office. But okay, back to the business at hand. So that was my takeaway from that hanging out in there. The pulled pork was great. The 2 mac and cheeses were great. The cookies were yummy. It was nice to have a hot cup of tea. I don't think keeping a building just for that purpose is reasonable. So we need to so I guess we can't ask to be on the agenda this Thursday because we need to rewrite this. Unless do you have it up? Can you rewrite
I might have to get it.
can we rewrite
Unfortunately. I've
as
got
we go?
multiple
He can,
devices.
I think that he can edit it and then, yeah, I think you can, yeah, I think you could still ask to be on the agenda. Even
Okay,
if you feel like,
For
yeah,
days.
can you edit based on what we've discussed and then send it to me to bring it in on Thursday?
Yes, I'm sorry, what I'm struggling with is it's not on this laptop and it looks
Oh.
like I don't have my Yahoo for some reason.
Okay, so why don't you do that?
I know, I have it, just, I was on the wrong browser.
So why don't you do that?
you could edit it and send it to Kate, right? And then Kate could distribute it. And if there was some,
Yeah.
as long as it all goes through Kate, I think.
So I'll talk about just real quick on on what I'm planning to do.
Yes,
Is to restructure this document so that it is one recommendation at the top that is our primary, which is to divest us of this. And then I'll have two columns and just in those columns side by side, so it's seen as the same recommendation. If you choose to quit claim, here's the pros, cons. If you choose to sell, here's the pros, cons. And then the secondary would be demo or demolish. And I think that's just what we talked about. I'm sorry. In my head, I'm going through how we're going to present this so that so that getting rid of the Old Town Hall is one primary recommendation. And then below it is two methods.
yeah.
I want them side by side so they don't look like one takes precedence over the other.
I want to double check on the idea of selling it, subdividing and selling it. I would like to ensure that once that's accomplished, the remainder of the property is not in the town's ownership either. It goes to the church.
Oh,
Right. I don't know that we
We
can
can't-
make that.
no, that is not,
Can't demand that.
I'm
It's
sorry,
what?
that is
Out of
with
scope.
committee.
Yeah, that's that. We
Right.
can't demand that.
Okay, well,
We can-
it's on the record that it's been mentioned and that's
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
so. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we can't demand anything. Like,
Right.
again, this is all a recommendation. It's an advisory committee. And the board and town can take it or leave the advice. So, but I think we can't put this is a requirement. Yeah. And you might maybe put in there, or I'll say it, I mean, when I come in, we'll hand that off, but I can say the only reason that the church has been conflated into this conversation is because of the shared land. Because of the shared land.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all have our opinions about what they should do with the church, but that requires just coming in and telling the select board in public comment that that's what you think should happen. And pushing the town to get moving on settling that one way or the other.
I think, yeah. Be more open anyway, but you know.
Yeah. Are you doing it now? Did you find it?
It's fine. Well, I do have it, but it's not working the way
I
that.
don't think you have to do it right here in the room, but and here, then I'll give you these notes that I took.
Oh, sure. I
And
don't
then,
have much.
does that work for everyone? Jeannie? Did we lose you?
I am fine. I think the majority of this committee, this
Yeah.
is recommendation. It is not a full consensus. And as long as it reflects that, that's fine. I'm not going to try to convince anybody otherwise. We've had our conversation. As long
Because then you're actually you get to be part of the conversation, the bigger conversation. So,
And the write-up itself will not prioritize quick claim and sale. It won't. It'll
it's
be,
just presenting it as
it'll
an
be-
option.
these are the two different ways of getting there. I believe on that we have a consensus, right? if we're not talking about which one are we putting before the other, we have a consensus that getting rid of the Old Town Hall is the primary recommendation. And the two methods to do that are quitclaim and sale.
I agree that I think as a primary recommendation, I just personally still think it would be interesting to continue the conversation about whether or not we don't make a decision at this point in time. And I hear what you're saying about the carrying cost, but I do wonder if there isn't something that it might be useful for, depending on what happens with the church. That's what I'm saying. And I don't know what that might look like, but I think you can go ahead and make that primary recommendation. And again, I think you can make any recommendation because I think that's helpful. I mean, this is how committees work, and that's a good thing. Because I think that you three are in consensus. And so I think it's fine that you can always say that the majority thinks X, Y, or Z. I think that's accurate.
I think that's fair. Great.
And the only way I'm going to cover that is quitclaim is going to be in the left column.
Yeah.
Sale is going to be.
That's fine. So, all right, I think that works. I mean,
So it's
So
just
not-
it will take me a couple of minutes to get this through, so I'll probably have this out tomorrow or
that's great.
Wednesday,
That's fine.
and I'll have it to everyone. Well, I guess we're under the gun though. We want to get on Thursday's agenda, or do we want to push that out to the next select board?
I won't be
That's
here
only-
for the next select board meeting, so if someone can speak in my stead, and I won't be available to Zoom in either. I'm at a conference that I'm on, I'm at the VSPA conference, the Vermont Short-Term Rental Alliance conference, and I'm on the board, so I won't be able to jump out of conference to Zoom in.
Yeah.
So it is a direct conflict. But so either I come in on this Thursday or someone else can come and give the spiel, which I would be perfectly fine with. If someone else wants to do that.
I mean, I think you can make the edits to it, Bob, and then just get it out to Kay for distribution before the meeting. I don't think this document is really going to change very much. So I think,
No.
and
It's just the structure of it.
so you might as well.
All right, so let's get on the agenda. I'm going to email right now so that, even though I'm the one who's like, people should not have devices at the table, I have a device and I am now messaging. For full disclosure, what I'm doing here on my phone, I am messaging Tara and Mike. I don't need to CC you, Jeannie, because.
No.
Okay. And I'm letting them know we'd like to be on the agenda. Oops, okay, he's select person 1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. For coming and thank you for your words. OTH on agenda. Kate, one committee off your plate. Woohoo.
Oh, yeah.
Please place us. On Thursday's agenda. With our recommendation, with our findings. Thank you.
I think we can call it recommendation.
Okay. Great, thank you all.
Okay.
It has been a pleasure serving on this committee with all of you. Kate, appreciate your work. Public comment. Oh, no one's there. She's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because everyone's like, this is the thing, is anyone even watching these? Do we have a way of knowing if people watch
You can
them?
look at YouTube views.
So see that 3 people have watched.
So are we looking for a motion to adjourn?
I would say so, yes.
Okay, I will move during the meeting.
Thank you. A second? Anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jeannie.
Thanks, everybody.
Safe travels back home.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.